On today's episode, I am going to take a look at 3 of my top stocks. And for each of these stocks, we're going to look at the following information. First, I want to take a look at the markets they hit and explain why I am bullish in those markets. Then I want to take a look at their revenue breakdown to see where that money is coming. After that, I want to take a look at their future growth and their past growth to see where this company has been and where it's expected to go. And finally, I want to take a look at their at their balance sheet to see if they have a strong financial statement right now. So it's going to be, for each company, we're going to take a quick overview of it. And I do believe the information here is going to be useful for both new investors and even investors that have been in the game for a long while. And like always, if you are new to my channel, if you are a long-term investor, and if you want to learn about growth stocks, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And to all my returning viewers, thank you so much for the support. It truly means a lot. Like always, if you guys want to get in contact with me, the YouTube comments is the best place. I respond to almost everybody there. If not, you can find me on Twitter, on my Discord channel, or you can get me on my weekly newsletter. Again, all that information is free, but none of this should be taken as advice. All of this is my opinions, and I'm by no means a professional. So make sure to talk to a financial advisor. Alright, so let's start off with stock number 1, and that is Microsoft, ticker MSFT. And a lot of people might be a little confused because most of my videos that I do are about growth stocks. You might be like, Jose, what do you expect from Microsoft, the $1.6 trillion market cap company already? What kind of growth is there? And even though it is a big company, right, it should not, I feel like so many people get blinded by the ability that just because a number has never been hit before, it doesn't mean it's not gonna hit it. So for example, about maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, all these companies were seen to be big boys and probably can't grow anymore. And we can see all those have grown to trillion-dollar market caps. And as the market continues to grow, as they continue to grab more revenue, what is to say that they're not going to continue to grow? So this one is definitely a bit different from my other companies, especially the ones we're going to see later on. But let's take a look at the markets Microsoft hits. And like I mentioned earlier, we're going to take a look at 3 stocks today. And these are not my top 1, 2, 3. I don't think I have top 3 stocks. I have 9 stocks that I am very bullish on. These are what I consider my tier 1 stocks. So if you want to look at my portfolio, I have 3 tier stocks. I have tier 1 stocks, which are 9 stocks right now, which I'm very bullish on. And these are the ones I have my highest convictions. Those 9 are the ones I'm going to look at today. Not today, I'm going to do a video series. So 9 companies, and with all the information I'm going to take a look at is too much. So what I'm going to do, I'm break it down into 3 episode series. Today we're going to do 3. Later on, if you guys enjoyed this series, make sure to let me know in the comments. I'll do the next 3 and then the next 3, so you guys can see the 9 stocks I am completely bullish on right now. And before we go any further, just a huge shout out to all the members that support the channel. Like I said, all the information that I provide here is free, from my portfolio to my Discord channel. It's not like I have a private Discord channel. The Discord channel that I'm in all the time is the one that anybody can join. I'm not here charging anybody for anything, but some people find value with the information that I provide and they want to support, and they have joined the membership. So to all of those that are doing, thank you. I truly appreciate it. All right, so let's take a look at Microsoft's most recent earnings, and I pulled up, we're only going to take a look at some information. I just want to show the markets that they're in. And before we, and let me tell you guys more of what markets I am very bullish on, and that can maybe help you see why I invest in certain companies. And those markets are the following. I'm very bullish in gaming, very bullish in e-payments and e-commerce. I'm also very bullish in the data market, in the data center world, and the clouding market, as well as innovative companies that I believe their technology is something that's going to continue to move the world in the future. And at Microsoft, it does, many people might know Microsoft for the gaming aspect, right, of their Xbox One and some other products. But Microsoft's gaming revenue is not that big for me to be in Microsoft for the gaming aspect. I'm actually in Microsoft for their clouding market. And their clouding market is just amazing with the strong demand. So the main reason I'm in Microsoft is for the following reason. I am huge in the cloud market. I'm very bullish in the cloud market, and mainly the people that help provide that form of sector, and those are the leading data center infrastructures. The top winners right now are Amazon AWS, which owns 33% of the market right now. Second in place is Azure, which owns 18%. And third in line, we have Google, which owns 9%. So for me, one of my biggest play for Microsoft is this cloudy market, this infrastructure that is allowing so many different companies to be able to use their platform. And I think that's the most important thing, right? It's let's say one of the best ways for me to explain it is, we all know about the gold rush, right? And in the gold rush, there's so many talks about not every single miner made a lot of money, right? There were a lot of miners that just went out there and they pretty much did not find gold. But the businesses that created the tools for the mining for those miners were the ones that did really well. And that's where I believe this infrastructure of the clouding market is the strength in, right? I'm not going to invest in every cloud stock, but all those cloud stocks need some form of infrastructure that some of these big boys here provide. And I do believe Microsoft is one that is going to continue to grow. So that's my main reason. I'm also very bullish in the other segments they're in. So let's take a quick look at their revenue breakdown. So Microsoft, for the most recent earnings, which was Q4, I think it ended in June or July, so it's only about a month old. They made about $38 billion of revenue. That $38 billion in revenue is kind of split up very evenly among the three sectors it hits. It hits product and business processor, that made $11.8 billion. Intelligent cloud made $13.4 billion, and more personal computing did $12.9 billion. And so we can see they had three different sections of revenue collections, and they all make up close to 1/3 of the revenue. And that to me is also very good, right? I like to see a company that has multiple forms of income coming in, right? Because if one of them slows down, the other ones can at least continue to drive money into the company. Imagine if it was a one show pony. Is that the correct way to say it? One show pony? Yeah. Imagine if that one show flats out dies, then the company is pretty much without legs right now. So I like to see one that has multiple sources of income, and we can see Microsoft has three. And let's take a little bit closer look at what those three products are. So the intelligent cloud, these are server products and cloud services revenue from Azure and their enterprise services. So this is pretty much just the clouding market. And that is up 47% compared to same time last year. That is insane how much that grew. Then we take a look at their more personal computing. Here in their more personal computings, they have things like their Windows OEM. They have like their commercial products like the Office 365 for commercial use. Then they have their Xbox content, and they have all the laptops like the Surfaces. They also have the search advertising revenue that they have here. You know, if you use Bing, I'm not sure how many people do that right now, but if you use Bing, the revenue that they collect from those advertisements are also there. So we can see even within their sections, they are very diversified. And then they also have like the productivity and business processes. And this is the one when they have more of enterprise softwares, like let's say the office consumers, where at your job, if you're using Office 365, Outlook, Skype, all this type, LinkedIn, all the dynamic programs, all these programs that you use at your job for your business and process and productivity, that's in there. So we can see they're very diversified. And for me, my two favorite segments here are the intelligent cloud, because like I mentioned, I'm very bullish in the clouding world and that enterprise, the creators of it, and I do believe Microsoft will be a leader in there, as we see is the #2 leader right now. I'm also very bullish on the product in terms of bullish ranking. The first segment I'm most bullish on is intelligent cloud. The second one, I'm in productivity and business process. And the reason I'm bullish there is because once you're in the enterprise and you start working with some form of software, when you start using some form of platform, it's very difficult for you to move out of that platform into something else. Usually, usually once a company chooses you, It's very rarely that they flip-flop into another one. So because of that, here you have like the big boys, all the big companies working with Microsoft products. The third one is the more personal computing. Yes, I'm happy that they do have all of them, but to me, if it didn't have that more personal computing and if only had productivity and intelligent cloud, this to me would still be a great company for me. Again, I'm not saying that the more personal computing is a bearish sentiment. It's just that I'm not as bullish in that market as I am to the other two. And again, it's very important. I feel like a lot of people always talk about, hey, Microsoft has Xbox. So yes, it's good that they have it, but it's not something that will make or change the business, right? And that's the crazy things. For example, Amazon. One of my favorite things about Amazon is they own Twitch, the live streaming for gaming, and I'm very bullish in there. But that Twitch live stream makes up almost nothing of the revenue from Amazon. So even though it is great that they have it in the business, it doesn't affect the business much. So for me, it's not worthy going into it if I'm just bullish on Twitch. And that's just what I'm saying here. So let's take a look at the future growth for Microsoft. So Microsoft, again, very different from most of my companies. Normally, I invest in very high growth companies, and that's companies that in the next few years are expected to grow over 20% a year on average. Microsoft is only expected to grow 9.5% on average annually for the next 3 years. It doesn't mean 9.5% each year. It could mean this year might be 18%, next year might be 9%, and the year after that might be 0%. So on average for the next 3 years, it'll be 9.5. This is unfortunately slower than the industry and slower than the market. And one of the things that I feel like investors should try to learn is to try to understand at what stage that company is in, right? Obviously, if this wasn't a leader in the market and it was a growth company that was just coming out the gates, I would have expected to be growing its revenue a lot faster. But now it's in a more stable state in its business. And for it to be that big, that stable, has that strong of revenue, to still be growing 10%, that to me is a big monster, right? You have to understand at what stage the business is in to try to compare it with another one, right? I'm not going to compare this to a high growth company that's barely making any money or not making any money at all. This one, for example, is a company that's been profitable for such a long time. Their profits are continuing to increase and their earnings are going to continue to increase. 1/3 of their revenue comes from the clouding market, which is growing pretty big. The other 1/3 comes from the business and enterprise processing unit, which again, I think I'm very bullish on. So for me, this is a no-brainer to be in. Take a look at this. So here I'm on lazyfa.com, and this is one of my favorite websites to use for my fundamentals. We can see trailing 12 months, in the past 4 quarters, this company has grown its revenue over 13%. That to me is insane. Since 2018, it has been growing over 14%. So you can see that's a strong grower revenue for a company that's already so big. And like, all right, we have a company that's growing pretty strong. We have a company that's profitable, that it's in markets that I am bullish in. And if it's profit, right? We can see its margins here, its profit margins and its gross margins. In the most recent year, at the end of their fiscal year of 2020, they had profit margins of 31%. They almost keep 1/3 of the money of revenue that they collect. And that to me is a great thing for Microsoft. Finally, I want to take a look at their balance sheet. Microsoft right now is sitting at about $136 billion of cash. And it only has about $67 billion of non-current debt. $67 billion of non-current debt. And it has $3 billion of current debt. So $70 billion of debt to about $140 billion of cash. This company is super strong in its balance sheet. It's producing strong revenue growth. It's making money at the moment. It's paying dividends, and it's in markets I'm very bullish on. So Microsoft is going to be one of it that makes it on my top list. All right, and also my thoughts on buying the company right now. Microsoft, yes, it is at all-time highs, but to me, I kind of dollar cost average. So there might be weeks that I don't mind buying Microsoft. Right now, to just continue to build up my position, and that's how I'm gonna do it. For me, I personally, if I was starting a new position in Microsoft, I don't think I would enter at a huge position. I enjoy doing the dollar cost average, where almost on a weekly basis, every so often, I start to build my position time over time until it becomes a huge portion of my portfolio. Here, diversifying time, diversifying stock price, and so many things can happen here and there. So that's my preferred method of investing, and that's how I would invest in Microsoft if I didn't have a position. All right, so next we're going to take a look at C, and this is ticker SE. This is a Singapore company in Southeast Asia, and they hit three markets that I am very bullish on. Earlier in this episode, I mentioned those markets, and C hits the digital entertainment market, which is mainly their gaming market. They hit the e-commerce market, and they hit the fintech, the e-payment market with their fintech services. So this off the bat is a company that that hits all its sources of revenue is hitting markets that I am very, very bullish on. And let's take a look at their revenue breakdown. So even though they have three major, they are in those three major revenue segments, most of their revenue comes from two segments. A majority of it comes from, so in this most recent quarter, they have about $1.3 billion of revenue. Out of that $1.3 billion of revenue, 700 million came from the entertainment business, which was like their gaming products. So a little bit over half comes from their gaming segments. And that's, again, very bullish. Almost the other half, 510, come from the e-commerce business. Again, another market that they're seeing strong growth, and it's very popular. And then they have about 12 million, very small portion, coming from their fintech services. So we can see, even though they are into three major segments, most of the revenue only comes from two segments. Again, those two segments are some I'm completely bullish on. So now let's take a look at this company's future growth. So this company at the moment is not profitable, but it is expected to be profitable within the next 3 years. And that's okay, right? Like we saw, right? This is how we're going to look at the differences, right? Microsoft was a company that's already profitable, and it's been profitable for some time. So it has that positive in it. So it's okay for it to not be growing as fast. Now, C, on the other hand, it's the opposite. It's not profitable. It is expected to be profitable within 3 years, and that's usually my timeline. If it's not expected to be profitable within longer than 3 years, then it's usually a pass for me, or it might be a lower tier stock. It might be like a tier 3 stock. So C is one that is expected to be profitable in the next 3 years. All right, so it's not profitable. So I'm going to be a bit harder on it when I'm taking a look at its revenue growth. And this one is expected to grow its revenue at 28% annually on average for the next 3 years. So this is what you consider a heavy growth stock. This one is beating the industry in revenue growth, and it's beating the market in revenue growth. So even though it's not profitable right now, I'm saying it's okay because it is going to be profitable soon, and it's just destroying that revenue growth. All right, so let's take a look at their past annual revenue growth. In 2019, this company grew 163%, and in 2018, they grew 100%. So in the past 2 years, it has more than doubled its revenue each year, and that's freaking insane in my mind. And I'm pretty sure at the end of 2020, we're gonna see a high double digit again, and that's just showing how this is a growth that's coming right off the bat, and it's taking that market share from companies. But unfortunately, like I mentioned, right, it is not profitable right now, and its profit margins are not something to be really happy. Again, this is looking at the past tense. When I'm me investing in C is me looking at that future growth of this company. And at the same time, right, let's take a look at the balance sheet next. Because this is a company that's not growing, that's not making money right now, I'm gonna be extra hard on its balance sheet. I need to make sure that this company has plenty of cash at hands to be able to pay off any form of debt that it might have. And I don't think I have it there in Lazy FA, but if I take a look at their most recent quarter, and let's just jump into their balance sheet here real quick, we can see this company right now at the end of June 30th had about $3.4 billion of quick cash. And right now this company has long-term, so remember that, $3.4 billion of quick cash. Let's take a look at how much debt it has. This company has long-term borrowings of almost nothing, and it has convertible notes of $2.1 billion. Does it have anything in here? No. So its really long-term debt is $2.1 billion and it has $3.4 billion of cash. So to me, this company has enough money to pretty much pay off its debt and still have cash left over. So for me, I'm happy with that form of balance sheet, right? With a growth company that's not making money, you have to make sure that they have enough cash to be able to survive that time phase where they're not making money. So for me, C is one that at the moment, even though it's an all-time high, this is one I'm buying a little more often than Microsoft. For and that's how I'm probably going to do it. C is one I'm buying a little more often than Microsoft, and I believe in the future I'm going to continue to buy C a little bit more often than Microsoft. This is one I'm a little more bullish at the moment. With the market cap of only $75 billion, it's growing dramatically. I can see why investors are really happy with this company. But again, very similar. I more dollar cost average throughout the weeks. But like I mentioned, C is one that I probably dollar cost average more often than Microsoft right now. And the final company is Nvidia. And here, Nvidia, ticker NVDA, right now has a market cap of about $313 billion. And this, again, let's take a look at the markets Nvidia is hitting. And they actually have it here on a cool presentation. They talk about all the markets. So remember, I mentioned I mentioned the markets I said I was bullish: e-commerce, gaming, data center, clouding, e-payment, and technology that I believe will change the future. So Nvidia hits a lot of those markets. It hits the gaming industry, it hits the data center industry, and it also hits the auto. They're doing autonomous vehicles. The autonomous vehicle portion is not one I'm too bullish on, but the software behind it is machine learning, machine and artificial learning, and that's a marketplace that I feel is going to continue to grow. So it hits three markets I'm very, very bullish on. Another thing I want to mention is Nvidia has recently purchased a company called Mellanox, which increases its exposure in the data market and the artificial intelligence market. So you can see Nvidia is making smart acquisitions right now to continue to grow its products. And let's take a look at the revenue breakdown. So the revenue breakdown for this most recent quarter, the quarter to a fiscal year of 2021, they made about $3.9 billion. Out of that 3.9 billion, it mainly comes from two segments. 1.7 comes from data center, like we're seeing this strong growth. So how Microsoft creates the infrastructures, let's take a quick look. So remember how I said Microsoft kind of builds that infrastructure to the clouding market. So when you have different clouding companies, they come and use the Microsoft services. So now if we go back to that mining company, that mining segment example, let's try to understand where Nvidia is at. So Nvidia will be the one providing one of the portions to be able to create those picks. And for Nvidia, they're one of the few companies that are actually doing it. So they're the ones helping produce those mining and picks with their products, and they're one of the few companies that do it. So to me, like I mentioned, right, the clouding market is one I'm very bullish on, and I trickle down to understand what other companies within are hitting that market and how much deeper we can get into there to see what other markets are being created from there. So Nvidia provides the GPUs for these data center companies, and they are one of the leaders. They are the leaders on it right now, and that to me is very bullish, because if the clouding market continues to grow, it's going to mean they're going to need more GPUs for the data center. So it means Nvidia is going to continue to grow. So again, this is one of the major reasons I'm very bullish. The second is the gaming industry. The gaming industry made up $1.6 billion of the company's revenue. The other two segments are professional visualization and the automotive sector. Again, the automotive is one that I can see where it can grow in the future, but I'm more interested in the software behind it that they can probably license into other types of industries as well. And the professional makes up 200 million out of that 3.9 billion, and the automotive makes up 100 million out of that 3.9 billion. So again, not major segments. So let's take a look at Nvidia. And Nvidia is one that I would consider between Microsoft and between C. So Nvidia is one that's already making money, but it's growing faster. So it's like I said, it's the perfect example of a C and Microsoft put together. So it's already profitable. It's profitable, but it's also growing faster than the industry and the market. So this to me is a complete beast. Right now, we're expected this revenue to grow 14.6% annually on average for the next 3 years. And the industry is only 10.4 and the market's only 9.6. So this Nvidia is to me the perfect middle child. And we can see, right, earnings are continue to grow. This is also a growth company that pays dividends for those dividend guys that are out there. Now let's take a look at the past trailing 12 months growth for this company. And revenue for this company is coming to pick back up in the trailing 12 months in the most recent quarter. It grew its revenue 28% when we're taking a look at trailing 12 months revenue. So that to me is pretty strong strength right now. And we can see this company's annual profit margins have been profitable for some time, and their gross margins seem to actually be on an uptick. All right, so now let's take a look at their balance sheet. Nvidia right now has about $7.7 billion of current investments, and they have about $3.3 billion of quick cash. So of cash and cash equivalents. So that's close to $11 billion of quick cash. And this company only has about $7.6 billion of non-current debt, and they have no current debt. So this is another strong example of a strong balance sheet. They have, if they pay off all their total debt, they still have about $3 billion left over. And that to me is very strong. And actually, before I go, Nvidia is very similar. Nvidia to me, let me tell you, like I was doing with C would probably be the one I'm buying a little bit more of. Nvidia would be the one I'm probably buying second of, and then Microsoft would be the third if I was just looking at these three companies. That's assuming the market continues to go up. If there was a huge dip in the market, let's say Monday, for example, it might change the way I do it. If there was a big dip and they all dropped about the same percentage-wise, I would think I would move from Nvidia being my top, followed by C, and then Microsoft. And that just shows you how maybe right now I believe Nvidia, even though I still think I believe for a long term might be underpriced. I'm still buying, but I feel like I'm gonna get the opportunity to get it a lot cheaper in the future. So I'm waiting for some type of volatility. But even if that volatility doesn't happen and doesn't come in, I don't mind continuing to purchase at the moment as well. So like I mentioned, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. And that's for me, Microsoft, C, and Nvidia make it in that top 9 that I mentioned right there. There's 9 companies right now I'm very bullish on. These are 3 of them. If you guys enjoyed this episode, let me know so like that I can hit the next 3 either tomorrow or the day after. Take care, guys. Have a good night and see you next time.